get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, every move they make until the presidential election, people are going to see how they are pushing the economy to implode. And I do believe the last part of that is the rate cuts. But of course, on their side, they're going to make it look like they're improving the economy. The economy is a lot better, and the rate cuts are the final action of how they were able to make the economy look great. But when you really look at it, the opposite is going to be true. And you're going to see most likely the economy completely and utterly fall apart. Because once again, you have to remember their plan is actually to bring their old system down. Their plan is to bring us into a new system. Now, yes, during elections, during the time where they need those people in place, they need to show you that, look, what they've done actually works. They don't care about these people. Remember, these are the low-hanging fruit. Yes, even the president is low-hanging fruit for the central bankers. Because in the end, they don't want elected individuals. They don't want these people. Now, again, is Biden elected? No. Is he the president? No, he's the resident. But again, do they really care about these individuals in the end? No, they care about their system. They care about control. They care about depopulation and hitting their goals. That's what they care about. So in the end, will they actually turn around and blame the resident? Will they blame all their policies on them? Of course they will. They don't care. As long as nobody blames them. That's what they don't want. And once again, as the entire system falls apart, what are they going to do? They need to cover it up. Yes, they can start blaming the resident, but in the end, they will cover up everything with a cyber attack. And I do believe that's where all of this is headed. But you can see the people, they're not going along with the Green News scam anymore. And this is actually spreading right now. Out in Michigan, the majority of likely voters, they are now opposing Biden and Harris's electric vehicle mandate, which seeks to phase out gas-powered cars regardless of the impact on jobs and wages. The Detroit Press put out a poll which surveyed people, and they found that 55% of Michiganders oppose Biden and Harris's EV mandate. So we can see that this is spreading in the blue cities. It's spreading across the country. And the people, they're not stupid. They realize that electric vehicles aren't the way to go, especially if you're mandating it. If you're saying you absolutely have to take it, just like when they said, oh, we're mandating the vaccine for you. People rejected. The people pushed back. The same thing's happening with the EV market. The people, they realize, listen, if we want to use an electric vehicle, fine. But don't tell us this is the only automobile that we can use. Because if you do that, we're going to push back, and we're going to push back hard. And that's exactly what they're doing. The people are pushing back and pushing back hard against these individuals. And as we approach the presidential election, what else are people seeing? The people are seeing that the economy is not doing as well as they've been telling us. And we're starting to see other recession indicators. We're still see inflation, and we still see high fuel costs. And we see that job layoffs, they are picking up. And when you look at the automobile industry, we know there was a cyber attack on the automobile industry. And of course, they're using that to say this is why the car industry is completely and utterly falling apart. But I do believe it's falling apart for many other reasons. And one of them is that the entire economic system has been manipulated. The statistical numbers are manipulated. So we're not really getting a good reading on what the economy is actually doing, because it's doing a lot worse than what they're reporting. So if it's doing a lot worse than what they're reporting, it means that the economy is utterly falling apart. And when you look at all the different size and indicators, you can see it very, very clearly. I mean, when you look at retail is falling apart. When you look at corporate jobs, that's falling apart. When you look at the housing market, that's falling apart. When you look at automobiles, that is now falling apart. The Kobisi letter on X put this out and said, car prices are crashing. Used cars and truck prices are now down 17.5% since the 2021 peak, and the largest decline in 15 years. Over the last 35 years, there were only two times when prices of used vehicles saw a bigger drawdown, in 2004 and 2009. What happened in 2009? Wasn't that the Great Recession? Overall, U.S. wholesale prices of used vehicles have declined for 22 consecutive months. In June, average wholesale prices decreased by 8.9% year over year to $17,934. EV makers have been hit the hardest, with some EV prices falling over 40% since last year. The car market bubble has now popped. And I do believe we're probably going to see the housing market bubble pop. But when you look at the consumers and you look at why they can't pay their bills, something startling really jumps out at you. And the Cobesia Letter on X put this out and said, this is concerning. 11% of U.S. consumers with 90-day plus new delinquencies of FHA single-family loans cited unemployment as the main reason, the most in over 16 years. An FHA loan is a type of mortgage for borrowers with lower credit scores or who do not qualify for a conventional loan. This share has increased by 5 times in just 2 years and is above the 2008 levels. Overall, the FHA loan delinquency share is at negative 10.4%, near the highest since 2021 and below the approximately 14.2% peak in 2009. On the other hand, delinquencies on single-family residential mortgages was 1.7% in the first quarter of 2024, the lowest since 2006. Americans with lower credit scores are now struggling. Didn't we see this back in 2008, 2009? It's starting to look very, very similar as we approach the presidential election, because we started to see the real estate market completely and utterly fall apart as we were in the summer months, as we approached the presidential election. And eventually what happened, the entire market completely and utterly fell apart, which was the last signal to let everyone know we have major problems in the economy. And remember, let's talk about protecting ourselves. In the beginning of that year, in 2008, Bernanke, the head of the Fed, was out there letting everyone know they're not predicting any type of recession anytime soon. Actually, he was reassuring everyone that everything is fine. The economy's doing great. But then everyone learned that no, it's been breaking down. It got worse and worse. And by the time everyone figured it out, the market came crashing down. Now, we can see there are many indicators that the recession is approaching, or we are already in a recession. Now, I do believe we're already in a recession, and it's just going to get worse and worse. The Cobesia Letter on X again says another sign of U.S. recession. The U.S. manufacturing sector has experienced its second longest downturn in modern history. The ISM Manufacturing PMI Index has shrunk in 19 of the last 20 months, marking 21 months without 2 consecutive readings of an expansion. The industry has only ever seen a longer period of contraction once, during the late 90s, when it contracted for 26 months. Meanwhile, the ISM Services PMI Index fell by 5 points to 48.8 in June, putting both industries in a downturn at the same time. If these indices do not rebound soon, the U.S. economy may indeed be headed into a recession. There are signs of weakness in the economy. Now, I do believe since we have all this manipulation, we're already in a recession. And now we're just starting to see it, because when you look at what Biden is saying, what you look at what the Fed is saying, and you look at the manipulated numbers, and you start to look in other places like the manufacturing numbers, you're starting to see that they don't make any sense. They don't correlate, and they're completely on either side now, which means the manipulation is completely and utterly falling apart. And I do believe this is exactly what people are saying. And this is why the deep state players, the central bank, the World Economic Forum, this is why they're so worried about alternative currencies. Because again, if their plan is to bring us into a new system, they can't have people looking at alternative currencies. They can't have people going to gold. They can't have people going to silver. They can't have people going to Bitcoin. They need to do whatever they possibly can to keep people away from this. Now, again, with the gold market, what can they do? Can they manipulate the gold market? Absolutely. They had the paper market for a very long time. They throw a lot of paper contracts at the gold market, and they bring down the price. This is how they can control that. But it seems over the past year or so, they've been losing control of the gold market. It's over $2,000 an ounce. And I do believe this is just going to get worse for them. They are trying to maintain the gold price as best they possibly can. Bitcoin's a little bit tougher. They tried all different ways of controlling it. The last way they tried is Mt. Gox, where they actually distributed the stolen Bitcoin, and that brought down the price. But if you notice, that price is going right back up. So what do they got to do? They need to control it in other ways. They need to stop people from going into Bitcoin or people from mining Bitcoin. And I do believe this is why Biden, his administration, this is why they want to tax the miners. Because again, they need to figure out a way to stop people from going into Bitcoin. They need the miners to stop producing the Bitcoin. And I do believe this is one of the ways they're trying to do this. Bitcoin Magazine put this out and said, Senator Cynthia Loomis releases paper saying taxing Bitcoin miners would be bad for the U.S. The Biden administration dangerous scheme to tax Bitcoin miners is a blatant attack on innovation. And remember, Trump, he wants this country to be the country that produces the Bitcoin. And I do believe in the end, Trump will be accepting Bitcoin. He might even accept gold too for the tariffs. So I do believe we're heading in a direction where we're going to separate ourselves from the private Western central bank system, separate ourselves from their fiat currency, and move into a currency that is beneficial to the people. And I do believe that's exactly where we're going. Now, it could be a combination of gold and Bitcoin, which I do believe it most likely will be. And we'll have to see how this all plays out, because we could see we're approaching that period of time very, very quickly. And I don't think we're going to have to wait that long. I'm not saying as soon as Trump wins the election, all of a sudden everything switches. I do believe there's still an uphill battle. The central banks, they don't want to give up control. They're going to try to bring us to war, to try to cover up everything that they've been trying to do and to try to restart their system. So I do believe there is a battle ahead of us. But I do believe Trump has the edge. He has the leverage, because he's allowing the deep state, the central bankers, the World Economic Forum to do what they do best, destroy their own system. The optics will be absolutely perfect for Trump and the Patriots to push this entire system in a different direction with the people's help. Now, what's very interesting is it looks like the fake news is doing what they do best. They're putting out fake news. And remember, going back a couple of weeks, they were making the case that Trump was looking at Jamie Dimon and Larry Fink to be the Secretary of Treasury. Now, they put that out there, and it didn't even make any sense. Yes, you want to keep your enemies closer, but why would you put these individuals in these positions? Remember, Dimon now is switching the way he thinks about Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that he's a good guy, that he's going to work in a way that helps the people. And why would Trump put someone like this into that position at this point in time? Remember, at this point in time, Trump is going to have all the leverage. So you really don't need the bad guys in these positions to watch them and to make sure that they're doing things that you want them to do. I think this time around, Trump is going to put those people in position that are actually going to benefit the people. And Trump corrected the record. He said the following: I don't know who said it or where it came from, perhaps the radical left, but I never discussed or thought of Jamie Dimon or Larry Fink for Secretary of the Treasury. Now, if you really think about it, think about why the fake news is putting this information out there. Are they trying to convince his base, hey, look, he's dealing with Jamie Dimon. Look, he's dealing with Larry Fink. You see, you think he's an outsider, but he isn't. He's really working with these individuals. And I do believe they're trying to basically muddy the water here and try to get his followers not to follow him. But I don't believe this is going to work. And every time Trump puts out a correction like this, it just shows that the fake news is just that fake news. And you can see that Trump, I do believe he's moving in a completely different direction than all these bankers. Again, the founding fathers, they fought against the bankers. They fought against the money changers. And I do believe in the end, without getting rid of the private central bank system, we're not going to solve any of these problems, because once again, if you track everything back to the source, the problem is the private Western central bank. It breeds corruption. We have money printing problems. We're borrowing currency with interest attached. This enslaves the people. It allows the deep state players to fund their operations across the globe. It allows them to create organizations because they're laundering all of this money. And without getting rid of the private Western central bank, we're stuck with these people once again, because, again, what do you think is going to happen? The same thing. So we need to show the people, and we need to show them that the private Western central bank is a criminal outfit. The private Western central bank is not the way to go, and they have not benefited the people over this period of time. They've actually destroyed your way of life, and now it's time to move away from them. And I do believe this is exactly what's about to happen. And I do believe people are going to see a major change once Trump gets into the White House once again, because, again, he will have the backing of the people, the central bank, the deep state players. Their cover story of bringing down the entire economic system is going to be blown up in their face, because, again, what is Trump going to do? He's going to usher in peace. So this is going to be a major, major problem for them. And I do believe in the end, Trump is going to show the people, I don't mean by himself, He's going to have help with the Patriots, where they're going to produce information of why the economy fell apart, why there was a cyber attack, what the Fed has been doing. I think the people, they have the right to know why our system the way it is, and why we should never go back to the private West Central Bank system. I think the people, once they're educated in this, they'll realize this is where we don't want to be, and we want to move away from them, and we should never, ever allow them to actually set up shop here in the United States ever again, or anywhere around the world. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.